Greetings once again, my friends, and welcome back to Drak Vlogs for the finale of Voltron Legendary Defender Season 2. And we got 3 episodes to cover, so we're just going to go ahead and get right into it. Starting with Episode 11, which is the final mission before they actually try to employ their plan. They needed Allura to go back to the planet of the Balmera to see if they could get a big enough crystal to be able to power up the teleduff or the wormhole generator that they need to be able to pull off their plan of being able to warp Zarkon off to a distant part of the galaxy. And for the most part, it looks like it's a peaceful interaction. They were able to get it, but then all of a sudden we see the return of an old friend, one of the original Robeasts that I believe showed up in Season 1, and he's kind of souped up now. He's got some crystal shields, and he's got an amplified laser just because of the crystal mounted on his chest now. And unfortunately, that creates a bit of a problem, especially with all of the Lion Paladins all on their respective missions. Thankfully, though, they are all done with them at this point and can rush over and help Allura as well as the people of the Balmera. So it pretty much goes as you might think. They actually have to go through an intricate process since not all of the Paladins took their Lions. Lance did and Hunk did. And so at that point, it becomes a very tedious process of trying to get Pidge and Shiro there so that they can get their Lions and then eventually get Keith to his Lion. But eventually they do form up Voltron and they do save the day through a couple of unique ways to being able to counter this Robeast and finally put it away once and for all. I really wish I could say that there was more to Episode 11, but there really kind of isn't, aside from continuing to employ this plan. I'm not saying it was bad, but it's just continuing to prep the plan that they have for Zarkon. Episodes 12 and 13 are really where it takes place. However, there was one other thing in Episode 11 I failed to mention. If you'll remember, I've mentioned it a couple of times that the Zarkon main base has a spy amongst them. The Blade of Marmora has an operative there. Unfortunately, in this episode, he has been found out. And so at that point, it literally ends with his name is Thace. Thace being tortured by the druids of Hagar to ascertain what he's actually trying to do. So then we start up episode 12 with the concept that Thace has not reported in a while. According to the information that they have, they can still do this, but he hasn't reported in. It's now 100 times more risky. But they decide to go through with the plan anyway, but with a quick change. Since they can't really confirm Thace's whereabouts on the ship, they can't confirm if he's been captured or killed. Keith then volunteers to go into Zarkon's base to take care of what Thace was supposed to do, which was shut down the main power in Zarkon's main ship so that they could upload the virus and then send Zarkon's ship to the distant parts of the galaxy. And Keith does this willingly. He's trying to prove himself, but before he heads off, we actually get to have a touching moment between him and Allura, where Allura kind of realizes the hatred that she's been harboring and that it's been targeting Keith, and she didn't really mean for that. She just doesn't know how to get over the fact that the Galra have caused her so much hurt. And I actually did like the moment. It was a very touching scene for her to actually get over her own, not necessarily get over her own hatred, but to take that first step and to actually say, you know, I do hate Zarkon, but I don't know if I hate the Galra as a whole, because we have the Blade of Marmora and we have Keith as kind of a bridging point. So in order for Keith's plan to succeed, Shiro actually goes out with the Black Lion to make sure that he can get to Zarkon's ship. This was part of the plan all along, but it's now improvised that he's going to help Keith get onto the ship. They originally were going to use the Black Lion to lure Zarkon there so that then they could shut down his base, open up a wormhole, and send him to the far reaches of the galaxy. But now they're having to improvise greatly. But episode 12 is basically, and this is something to get used to with the next 2 episodes, it's one giant battle scene, so not a whole lot of, say, character development aside from in combat happens. And for a lot of episode 12, it's just they're trying to make sure that their plan can still go off without a hitch, and everything can possibly go wrong, but in the end, Keith is actually able to get in touch with Thace. Thace actually, in his last actions of living, and for the blade, he detonates the main power generator and shuts down all power for Zarkon's base, which allows for Pidge's virus to go in and for them to basically keep shut down long enough so that now the exposed wormhole generator, they were going to cloak it before, and the cloak ran out. The cloaked wormhole generator can now suck Zarkon's base in and send it to the far reaches of the galaxy. And that's pretty much where episode 12 ends, with them going into the wormhole with Zarkon to finally put an end to his ship. But Zarkon ain't taking any of this crap and immediately decides, okay, if I can't use my base, if I can't, I've already tried to reach out to the Black Lion, this isn't working, I'm going out there myself. Prepare my armor. And we finally get what I kind of expected we were going to see at some point. Zarkon has kind of a Voltron of his own. He has a mech. And unfortunately, it's highly experimental. So it actually could harm Zarkon in the end. But that's how the episode ends. And we finally have Voltron having his showdown with Zarkon's new mech, for lack of a better term. Episode 13 is pretty much them trying to destroy the base, but then Zarkon shows up, and their battle ensues. And it's a big and epic one. Big enough that we actually have Voltron get shattered by Zarkon, and then eventually reform to kind of take him out. But we also have an added problem. Even though the ship is down, Hagar isn't. And Hagar has weapons of her own. And in fact, I believe the Voltron gets shattered twice in this episode. And one of them, I'm technically counting 12 and 13 as the same kind of episode, because this would be like a 1 hour long finale. One of the shatterings was actually from a blast from Hagar. So she basically tried to suck the quintessence, or the purity, or the energy out of Voltron, and shattered Voltron into the 5 lions again. And actually hurt the lion pilots, and a bunch of other problems ensued after that. But thankfully, we got back up on our feet. And as a counter, Allura and the 2 members of the Blade of Marmora who are on the castle decide to go and take care of Hagar and her druid so that she doesn't interfere in the fight between Voltron and Zarkon again. When we do that, though, Allura actually finds out a very harsh revelation about Hagar. It appears she was Altean. So she is of the same race as Allura, which I think was the original story for Hagar in Voltron, is that she actually did live on planet Eris in the kingdom and betrayed it from within. To Zarkon, I mean. But we also find out something very interesting. Is the kind of hinted at mystical energies that Allura now possesses. She basically, I think in this series, is now the counter to Hagar. That's why she doesn't have a lion. That's why she's mainly managing the castle, is that her battle can be more with Hagar. And I actually like that as a better idea than making her a lion pilot of Voltron. Because that was one thing that the original series could never really do anything about, was Hagar, when she was actually out there fighting, which was rare, but this one actually has Hagar taking more of a direct approach than the original series did. Anyway, so that's like the revelation that we get from there. They succeed in their mission to take care of Hagar, so that she doesn't interrupt the fight. But the biggest fight that happens throughout most of the episode is involving Zarkon against Voltron, more particularly Zarkon versus Shiro, in control for the Black Lion. And they finally they have this mental battleground numerous times, but Shiro seems to continue to win through until near the end, when we actually think like Shiro can't possibly take another attack from Zarkon. But, well, the Black Lion had faith, and so they make one final charge after the Black Lion raises up its Bayard slot, and through some weird shattering of Zarkon's connection to the Black Lion, Shiro was able to secure Zarkon's Bayard. And at that point, Zarkon ain't happy about that, and in turn begins his final attack, where they have this final clash, and Well, when this clash happens, Zarkon ain't doing so good. He gets pretty much impaled, but he's still going to make that last attack. He's going to shatter Shiro until the Black Lion urges Shiro to use the Bayard, which in turn ignites the sword, and there we go. Form Blazing Sword. I love the concept that even though Keith was in charge of the sword, the power was bestowed to Shiro. So yeah, they form the Blazing Sword. They annihilate Zarkon's mech to the point where he's very, very much shattered, but so is Voltron. They have to basically tow the Black Lion in, and when they go in to check on Shiro to see if maybe he's not doing too well, the cockpit is literally empty. They don't know where Shiro is, and it's worse for Zarkon. It looks like he's pretty much in a coma, it looks like, or near death state. And the episode literally ends with the Paladins trying to figure out where Shiro is, and with Hagar walking out of the door where Zarkon is and saying, "It's time, summon Prince Lotor," which is what I have been waiting on because I love Prince Lotor, and I've been waiting to see him in this series. And that's pretty much the end of Season 2. Now, I have done my homework, and it looks like Season 3 is going to it has been renewed, and it will be hitting this fall. So when it happens, I will obviously come back and do the vlogs for Voltron Season 3. Here's hoping it's not interlaced with anything else. But my final thoughts on Voltron Season 2. This is exactly the series that... at least this is becoming the series that I've always wanted as a Voltron fan. I'm not saying that Voltron, the original, is bad. I have moments that I like from it, but this is just a step above what a chop shop anime like Voltron could do. And I really do appreciate the creators of Avatar and all of the love and admiration and sheer respect that they have for this franchise to take the story in the directions that they have. It's really been an awesome thing to see. I cannot help but recommend Voltron to anybody, especially mecha fans. I think you will all appreciate this. Season 1's a blast. Season 2 amps it up even more. I cannot begin to say how excited I am for Season 3 with the reveal of Lotor. I have a feeling either Shiro's going to show back up, or maybe we actually will have our first transition, because Shiro mentioned it numerous times that if he were ever to pass on, that Keith should manage the Black Lion. So maybe we'll see Keith in black paladin armor. I don't know. But I am very excited for Season 3. And Season 2, awesome. Recommend it wholeheartedly for anybody who wants to take a look at it. Especially like Avatar fans, Korra fans. I think you guys would enjoy this too. I honestly think anybody... mecha fans, anime fans, a lot of people are going to get a lot of enjoyment out of this series, period. And yeah, I'm excited for Season 3. And that's going to go ahead and do it for my vlogs for Voltron Season 2. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this awesome ride. And, well, this ride, where one ride ends, another ride begins, because literally next week, I will be back with Drak Vlogs to cover the first season of Marvel's Iron Fist. We'll see you guys then.